In 1990, an average house cost about 3 times the average yearly salary. Today, it costs over 7 times as much. If you feel like no matter how hard you work, you're constantly falling behind, you aren't crazy, and you definitely aren't lazy. Every time you open social media or turn on the news, there is someone from an older generation complaining that Gen Z just doesn't want to work. They say we want participation trophies. They say we waste our money on coffee and subscriptions. They say if we just put our heads down and worked harder, we could buy a house, start a family, and live the American dream. But they are lying to you, not intentionally. They are just using math from a world that doesn't exist anymore. Today, we are going to look at the actual numbers. Here is the reality. There is a silent, mathematical trap built into the modern economy. It's a specific financial metric older generations completely ignore, but it dictates every single choice you make. I will show you that exact metric in a few minutes, and it will permanently change how you look at your paycheck. But to understand why the system is rigged, we first have to look at what they call the golden rule of wealth. For the last 50 years, the formula was simple. Go to school, get a degree, find a safe corporate job, buy a house, retire at 65. That formula worked flawlessly for our parents and grandparents because the math supported it. Let's talk about housing. For the middle class, owning a home is the only real way to build generational wealth. Back in the 1980s and 90s, the average home price was around $100,000. The average household income was roughly $30,000. So, a house costs about 3 years of gross income. You save up for a few years, put down 20%, and you are in the game. Now, let's look at today. The median home price in many areas is pushing $400,000 to $500,000, while the median income has barely moved to $70,000. The ratio is completely broken. A house now costs 6, 7, or even 8 times the average salary, and yet, financial gurus tell us to stop buying coffee. If you just save $5 a day, you will be rich. Let's do that math. $5 a day is $150 a month. That is $1,800 a year. To save a 20% down payment for a $400,000 house, you need $80,000. If you rely on skipping your daily coffee, it will take you exactly 44 years just to save the down payment. You wouldn't even be moving into that house until you are ready for a retirement home. The problem isn't our spending habits. The problem is that the cost of living has outpaced our ability to earn. They tell us we just need to work harder, take extra shifts, hustle. But the value of our labor has crashed. When older generations entered the workforce, a minimum wage job could actually pay for college. A part-time summer job could cover a semester's tuition. Today, you can work 2 full-time minimum wage jobs and still struggle to pay rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. We are constantly told that Gen Z is lazy because we don't want to work 60-hour weeks for a company that pays us peanuts. But we aren't lazy. We are just the first generation to realize the math doesn't check out. We are looking at the return on investment for our time, and the return is terrible. Why break your back for a company that will lay you off the second their stock dips 0.5%? Why sacrifice your youth for a paycheck that barely covers your groceries and rent? Remember that silent mathematical trap I mentioned earlier? The specific metric that older generations don't understand. It's called the purchasing power of time. The older generation looks at the absolute dollar amount. They say, when I was your age, I only made $10 an hour, and you were complaining about making 20. But money is completely meaningless. The only thing that matters is what that money can buy. In 1980, 1 hour of minimum wage work could buy you a decent meal, maybe put a gallon of gas in your car, and still leave some change. It was a fair trade of time for survival. Today, let's look at the purchasing power of time. In 1971, productivity and wages split. Since the 1970s, human productivity has skyrocketed. Because of computers, the internet, and AI, one worker today produces drastically more output than a worker 50 years ago. We are doing more work, faster, and better, but our wages stayed completely flat adjusted for inflation. All that extra money generated by our productivity, it went straight to the top. It went to corporate profits and shareholders. So when they call you lazy, they are ignoring the fact that you are actually more productive than they ever were. You just aren't getting paid for it. Your time buys less freedom today than it did 50 years ago. This brings us to the modern workplace and the concept of quiet quitting. Media outlets love using this term to paint us as entitled. They say we do the bare minimum. But let's call it what it actually is: acting your wage. If a system is designed so that working 10% harder gets you nothing and working 50% harder gets you a 2% raise that doesn't even cover inflation, then the most logical, mathematical decision you can make is to do exactly what you are paid for, nothing more. We aren't giving up. We are optimizing. We are protecting our mental health because we realize the corporate ladder is missing half its rungs. Think about the psychological toll this takes. You do everything right. You get the grades, you get the degree, you land the job, and your reward is moving back in with your parents because rent takes up 60% of your after-tax income. So, what do we do about it? If the traditional math is broken, how do we survive? The first step is rejecting their narrative. Stop feeling guilty for not hitting the same milestones your parents hit at 25. You are playing on hard mode in an entirely different economy. The second step is changing the game. If trading your time for a fixed hourly wage is a losing mathematical formula, you have to find ways to decouple your time from your income. That means learning about modern leverage. It means understanding digital economies, investing, and building assets rather than just being an employee. They want you to feel lazy, because if you feel lazy, you feel guilty, and if you feel guilty, you will put your head down and keep working for a system that exploits you. Don't let them gaslight you. The math is on your side. We are going to break down exactly how to navigate this broken system on this channel. We will look at the real data, the real economics, and the real strategies to build leverage when the deck is stacked against you. If you are tired of the hustle culture lies and want to understand the actual mechanics of money, hit subscribe. And right now, go down to the pinned comment. Tell me what your biggest financial hurdle is today, because the only way we beat this system is by comparing notes. I'll see you in the next one.